deals with pages 108 to 117. I asked, in regard to Aryeh Kaplan's commentary on the Sefer Yetzirah, feel free to discuss this in terms of other Kabbalistic texts. Don't make up fanciful, verbose answers. Please take the following textual material. Extract all of the Hebrew/Kabbalistic terms and define them. And, not just Hebrew/Kabbalistic terms, if there is a concept the author is presenting, please define that too. However, please don't redefine the basic 10 Sephirot, just define the Kabbalistic terms beyond that. If you can look back at all of my previous conversations with you, please don't duplicate definitions of terms. Take all of the mentioned biblical quotes, search and provide the KJV quotes and provide a brief contextual explanation of each of the quotes, 2 or 3 sentences. If Talmudic/Zoharic or other Kabbalistic quotes are referenced, please go ahead and find those quotes also. Here are the responses. This excerpt is primarily concerned with the 231 gates, Sha'arei 231, their geometric arrangement, their meditative use, and their relation to creation, the Sephirot, and Golem traditions. Since you've asked not to redefine the basic 10 Sephirot, I'll focus on the specialized terms and concepts. Hebrew/Kabbalistic terms. Mother letters, Imahot. In this passage, Mem, Shin. These are 2 of the 3 mother letters in Sefer Yetzirah, Aleph being the 3rd. The mothers are associated with fundamental cosmic principles and are frequently used in contemplative exercises. Foundation letters. The 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. In Sefer Yetzirah they are not simply symbols but formative powers through which creation is structured. 231 gates, Sha'arei 231. Perhaps the central concept of the passage. The 231 gates are every possible pairing of 2 distinct Hebrew letters. Mathematically, 22 times 21 divided by 2 equals 231. The Sefer Yetzirah treats these pairings as generative structures underlying creation. Later Kabbalists often regard them as channels through which divine creative energy becomes differentiated. Galgal. Literally. Wheel. Sphere. Cycle. In Kabbalah it often represents cyclical motion. Kaplan notes that in this chapter Galgal functions as a symbol of temporal cycles, cosmic movement, kingship over time, contrasted with the heart, Leph, which rules the inner spiritual domain. Leph. Literally. Heart. The numerical value of Leph is 32. This is significant because the Sefer Yetzirah opens with the 32 paths of wisdom. The text therefore links heart, wisdom, mystical perception, through gematria. 1 egg. Delight. Kaplan is referencing a famous letter permutation. 1 egg. Nega. The same Hebrew letters form both words. Mystically this demonstrates reversal, transformation, oscillation between opposites. A recurring theme throughout Kabbalah. Nega. Plague, affliction, or spiritual blemish. The reversal of 1 egg. The text presents this as a symbolic indication that spiritual states can invert into their opposites. Golem. An artificial creature formed through mystical manipulation of divine letters. The most famous traditions appear much later, but the roots are found in Sefer Yetzirah literature. The passage describes one of the classic traditions. Correct letter permutations create. Reverse permutations dissolve. Cipher. Albam cipher. A classical Hebrew substitution cipher. The alphabet is divided in half. Aleph left and right arrow laned. Bet left and right arrow mem. Gimel left and right arrow none, etc. The passage notes that the repeating pairs in the arrays follow Albam relationships. Later Kabbalists often use Albam for letter transformations, hidden meanings, meditative practices, date, dat, knowledge. While not counted among the essential 10 Sephirot and Sefer Yetzirah, many later Kabbalists treat it as a quasi-Sephirot. Kaplan's passage discusses the traditional distinction. Inner essence equals 10. Manifested structure equals 11, including date. Front and back of the Sephirot. Panim/Acre. A major later Kabbalistic concept. Front refers to revealed, direct, active influence. Back refers to concealed, indirect, reflective influence. Kaplan is applying this concept to the letter arrays. Native, path, distinct from derek, road. In Kabbalah, a native usually implies a subtle channel, a spiritual route, a conduit between realities. The Sefer Yetzirah's 32 Paths of Wisdom uses this term. Vacated space, Kalal Hapanui. Though Kaplan only alludes to it. This is a major doctrine of Isaac Luria. The vacated space is the apparent empty realm created through divine contraction, tzimtzum, allowing finite existence to emerge. Kaplan notes that later Kabbalists associated the 231 gates with structures remaining within that primordial space. Rabbi Isaac of Akko. Isaac of Akko, a major early Kabbalist known for contemplative techniques, ecstatic practices, discussions of letter meditation. Kaplan cites him regarding visualization of letters on the horizon. Riva, usually a reference to Yom Tov ben Abraham Savili, or a related medieval authority depending on manuscript tradition. The story cited is one of several medieval legends involving Sefer Yetzirah operations and accidental misuse of letter permutations. Concepts presented. Creation through letter combinations. A central Sefer Yetzirah doctrine. The individual letters are not the focus. Rather, relationships between letters. Permutations. Pairings. Generate creation. The 231 gates represent the first level of combinatorial creation. Meditation by constructive visualization. The sequence. 1. Engrave letters in the earth. 2. Raise them into a wall. 3. Connect them into a ceiling. Represents a progressive movement from potential, form, structure. This resembles later Kabbalistic visualizations involving letter palaces and configurations. Reversal as dissolution. Creation proceeds in one direction. Unmaking proceeds in reverse. This principle appears repeatedly in Sefer Yetzirah traditions, Golem literature, later practical Kabbalah. Geometry as mysticism. The 231 gates are not merely symbolic. Kaplan emphasizes that the geometry itself, circle, lines, permutations, is part of the contemplative system. The structure is intended to be meditated upon. References and quotations. Most quotations in this excerpt are not biblical quotations, but rather citations from the Sefer Yetzirah itself. If your heart runs. Sefer Yetzirah 1:8. Kaplan's translation is approximately, if your heart runs, return to the place. Context. The text warns against becoming lost in mystical ascent. The practitioner must return to equilibrium rather than remain absorbed in ecstatic experience. Bridle your heart from thinking. Also from Sefer Yetzirah 1:8. Context. A warning against speculative excess. The mystic is instructed to maintain discipline rather than permit uncontrolled mental wandering. Engrave them like a garden, carve them like a wall, deck them like a ceiling. Sefer Yetzirah 1:11. Context. A meditative instruction concerning the Hebrew letters and their arrangement into structured forms. 10 and not 11. Sefer Yetzirah 1:4. Context. One of the most famous passages in the text. The statement is often cited in debates over whether dates should be counted as an independent sephirah. The cycle in the year is like a king in the province. Sefer Yetzirah 6:3. Context. One of the text's analogies linking cosmos, soul, time, through parallel structures. The heart and the soul is like a king in war. Sefer Yetzirah 6:3. Context. The heart functions as the ruling center of the human microcosm. Midrash referenced. Israel rose in thought. This comes from Bereshit Rabbah 1:4. A commonly cited formulation is, Israel arose in thought. The Midrash teaches that Israel was among the realities conceived before creation. The statement is not about temporal existence but about primordial divine intention. Kabbalistic interpretation. Later Kabbalists expanded this considerably. In Lurianic and later literature, Israel is associated with primordial thought. Creation unfolds from thought into speech and action. The 231 gates become mechanisms through which that thought is articulated into creation. This particular passage is one of the places where Kaplan is connecting the early Sefer Yetzirah doctrine of letter combination with the later Kabbalistic doctrine of primordial thought and creation. This has dealt with pages 108 to 117.